Well, summer's come and gone, and with it, the 5th official season of Trackmania 2020. The developer of the game, Naudio, releases 25 new maps every quarter. With the summer campaign came an update introducing plastic as the newest driving surface. Now 3 months ago, I set out to convert the entire summer campaign into plastic. And after what felt like hundreds of hours of trial and error, the new campaign was complete, and I could set out on my journey to bring more players to the joys of plastic driving. The new, shiny, colorful material works a lot differently from the other primary surfaces in the game. It is the fastest surface with the highest acceleration, but it also has very little grip, even more so when the wheels are wet. And wheels stay wet forever when only on plastic. But perhaps more importantly, it bounces. As for the competition, Trackmania awards more points to players depending on their placement in each track. These are then added together for the overall campaign score. For this first competition, first place wins $50, second $30, and third place takes home $20. Now with that out of the way, let's get into watching how the pros handled Plastic Summer. We'll be watching the top 5 on every track with the point total winners shown at the end. So track 1 starts off right away with the dreaded wet wheels, which again never go away when you're on plastic, unless you find a way to dry them, which luckily a player named Skull found this scenery block here. Dry your wheels off immediately, because sand immediately removes all water from your wheels in this game. Previously, this track was almost unbearable to play, very, very slow because of those wet wheel turns. And we end with Jake Ray in first, Bozku in second, and Radiance in third. Track 2 is a little more straightforward, just smooth turns, managing your gears. Plastic actually requires a lot tighter management of gears than dirt or grass. You can lose a lot of speed by steering at the wrong time after changing gears, so you really have to watch it closely. And this jump coming up here at the end is only just barely possible due to using the technique of plastic wiggles, which give you small speed drifts to increase your speed. And we end with Jake Ray in first, Bozku in second, and Samify in third. Track 3, another track that I thought was going to have to deal with wet wheels, but luckily these professional plastic drivers were able to all land here in the middle and skip any of the water wheels. Another problem you get from water wheels is that you cannot air brake, so if you do have any water on your wheels, you can't control the rotation of your car in the air. And we have Jake Ray first, Mime second, and Samifying third. Track 4, which I would vote for as the best conversion to plastic. This one ended up being the most fun to play in my opinion. You might notice we have a trend going on with the leaderboards. There's one name very often at the top. Seems like we have found our own Plastic Mika, if you will, a player well known for his skill at the ice conversions, which if you're unfamiliar is made by Flink and Nizor. So if you like plastic at all, go check out ice. It's much harder, but they really set the standard for how well these conversions can be done. And track 4 ends with Jake Ray in first, Zodiark in second, and Bozku third. Track 5 is another map that converted very well to plastic in my opinion. You do have to deal with a pretty rough gear at the start there, but after that it does seem to play very fast. This is a good time to bring up that the track shoulders right there that they just passed in this campaign were unchanged from their original surface. It made some of the turns a little faster and gave a high risk, high reward type of gameplay, though future versions of the plastic campaigns will not include that. Of course, these drivers make it look easy, but it's very difficult to go for those tight corners, very easy to run into any of the things that are on the track border there. And track 5 ends with Jake Ray in first, Zodiark in second, and Mime third. And on to track 6. So now we're getting into the green tracks, will be slightly more difficult. Of course, these players are making it look easy, but this track is one of the hardest to maintain gears, especially there at the start. If you're unfamiliar with how difficult it can be to manage gears in this game, just hop on this track real quick and try to drive as fast as these guys do. Jake Ray pulls out another win against some serious competition on this track. Zodiac, Mime, Forever, and Bosku. It becomes quickly apparent why I'm not on many of these leaderboards. In track 7, we did have a few players manage to pull off the reset block skip. Jake Ray getting the most speed out of it by a lot. Alternate angle to see how they approached that. Basically lets you keep the reactor down and gets you a lot more speed out of that turn there. Jake Ray getting so far out ahead that we can barely see him while following second place. Maybe chill out, dude. Anyways, we end with Jake Ray first, Bosku second, and Mime third. Alright, track 8. This is actually the first track that we've had to use the bug sliding technique. This basically means you accelerate and brake at the same time while turning 90 degrees sideways. Lets you do an insane drift like that. All these guys pull it off flawlessly and get the flick back to the left, which is, in my opinion, the hardest part. And fun fact, this is actually the first track where the plastic version is faster than the regular version. And you have a very tight window of space to make this finish. But it ends with Jake Ray first, Samifying second, and Bosku third. Alright, track 9. Again, another very challenging track to get the start correctly. You just barely have enough speed to make that first jump. Following Mime this time, he's making good use of those unaltered shoulders there. The approach on this last jump here, unfortunately you couldn't make the entire jump, so the fastest strategy was to land early and get the booster down the hill. And Jake Ray comes out on top once again, with Samifying and Mime right behind him. Track 10, another excellent conversion to plastic. This plays very well with very smooth drifts and long jumps. Jake Ray taking a bit of a different line than everybody else and coming in to get that shoulder section there for a little bit of increased speed. If you're wondering where you can get in on this plastic competition in the future, feel free to join the Alternadeo Club in-game. There's well over 100 different campaigns of all different types, from blocked CPs to dirt and road and plastic. Or if you want to play them a few days earlier before I release them on that club, you can join my club, Tamart's Club, and of course join the Alternadeo Discord to share your thoughts and opinions or create your own campaigns. And track 10 ends with Jake Ray in first, Forever in second, and Samifying third. And we finally made it to the Blue Series. Track 11, I absolutely despised this track. These tight turns on plastic sausage blocks were absolutely painful. These guys make it look very easy, but managing your gears with this low of speed around these tight of turns is extremely difficult. Any wrong move and you fly off the track. Like this turn right here, it's so tight. Just a couple pixels to the left or right and you're gone. These guys obviously making it look like it's nothing. Just perfect jumps here into the finish by Jake Ray, Zodiac, Forever, Clear Vision, and Samifying. Track 12, previously a mostly icy map. This is actually the second track that plays faster on plastic than it does normally, by about 2 seconds here. Watching from Dog's perspective, you can see that Spooked is using an alternative 3D model, which is why his car looks a little different. All these players managing these loops just flawlessly. It's surprisingly difficult to just go through a loop with full speed on plastic. In this last left turn, an absolute run killer provides Jake Ray with just enough speed to pass up everybody else and take first place once again, with Dog second and Samifying third. And track 13, another very difficult sausage block map where you can just barely make this jump here at the beginning. All these players pulling it off expertly. We're following Granati for this run. It's probably worth mentioning that he streamed this campaign for just under 2 hours on his channel, only played these tracks a few times each, and still managed to get times that stayed in the top 5 throughout the entire season. So if you doubted the skill of professional Trackmania players, I think this is a good example of how fast they can learn new maps. Unfortunately, it didn't seem to be possible to skip the slow motion block on this track, but some players were able to pull it off, just not quickly, so if you want to give that a shot, please go for it. And we end with Jake Ray in first, Zodiark second, and Granati third. And track 14, an extremely techy map, which when turned into plastic plays almost entirely different. Feels like a brand new track, how you drive this. It's much, much, much slower, and you have to manage your gears much tighter, try to take these turns as low as possible. These players taking quite a few different lines. This was a hard one to find the optimal line on. Looks like Jake Ray and Zodiark got the most speed out of that turn. Of course, you want to take all these turns as tight as possible in the beginning and exit them as wide as possible to keep as much speed as you can. Heading into the final jump into a water boost gives us first place of Zodiark and second place Jake Ray, third place Bozku. Finally. I mean, good job to everyone. You're all competitors equally. Anyways, on to track 15. This one was very difficult. As you can see, you can't even make the first jump here. And the loop that they are approaching is also extremely difficult to get the approach to the right or through those pillars. This world record is actually about 7 seconds slower than the regular track world record. Navigating these little chicanes right here is exceptionally hard to pull off quickly. You'll see them using plastic wiggles a lot on this track as well. Anytime there's a straightaway and you're not changing gears, you pretty much want to be wiggling. Trying to take this turn as low as possible to keep the most speed. And they'll be landing on scenery blocks here, so they do have full grip on these black sections. Another water bounce into the finish. Jake Ray takes first, Zodiark second, and Granati third. Alright, track 16. This track was originally almost all dirt, so it doesn't play that much differently than the original map, but it does mean we are funneling into the red plastic, which is my personal favorite color. If you're unfamiliar with this game, just a quick note that there is no difference in handling amongst the different colors of plastic, though I know that was an often asked question when the material first came out. They're all the same, just different colors. Speaking of which, I appreciate that Naudio chose all colorblind friendly colors for these plastics. I can always tell a difference between yellow and green, which I usually can't in real life. So, well done, Naudio. You did that right. Anyways, these players showing how fast this plastic can be, with Jake Ray coming in first, Zodiark second, and Samifying third. Track 17, starting off with a very difficult jump. Many people couldn't pull it off. This was one of the least completed maps in the campaign. All of these players, of course, pulling it off flawlessly. Getting ready for this half-pipe jump, which Granati takes extremely low, gets a ton of speed out of that, ends up quite a bit ahead of the others. But you can see how effective wiggles are here with how much Jake Ray catches up. Of course, using the scenery block on the outside there to retain grip, turn a little tighter, while flicking back to the right to just slowly drift that turn and keep as much speed as possible. As they're approaching the last quarter pipe jump, trying to take it as low as possible once again. Unfortunately, Granati slipped up there, took it a bit too high, and Jake Ray finishes first, Clear Vision second, and Zodiark in third. Track 18, easily one of the most hated maps in the regular campaign, and doesn't get that much better in the plastic campaign. None of these sausage blocks are flat, which are the ones that are fun. They're all kind of sloping and angled in a weird way. So while some of them can be smooth, this track kind of turns into what I would consider a gear hell kind of map. Constantly trying to make sure you have the best gear possible for whatever turn is coming up, and trying to ride as low as possible at the apex of these turns. Obviously these guys are pulling it off flawlessly, but it's extremely difficult to do. Jake Ray actually being the only one to get this engine off skip right here, which I'll show again. Just barely possible to make it, but it gets you quite a bit more speed for the end. So much so that Jake Ray finishes in first by 1.2 seconds, with Zodiark in second and Granati in third. Alright, track 18. This one ended up being a lot of fun and converted fairly well. This first engine off right-hand turn ended up being pretty difficult to get maximum speed out of. But you really need to ride this high so that you can carry through a lot of speed, so you can make this jump coming up right here. Pangoon choosing to go on the right side, which ended up being just a little bit slower. And everybody using those shoulders to just keep a little bit more speed, which you can use every bit to take this engine off block skip, which most of the top 5 were able to do. Again, very difficult. You need maximum speed to do that. And then one more cut here that was found, I think, as well by Skull. You can skip the water there by just taking the sand. Pretty easy cut right there. Do I even need to say who came in first? Bosku second and Clear Vision third. All right, last track in the red series, track 20. This one looks so good. I love the combination of all the white snow with the red track. It's just very contrasty and looks very neat. It does play faster than the original track. Of course, this was mostly an ice track before, so having plastic gives you quite a bit more speed than that. It ends up being very fun to drive. Like, the lines that you take are very clean, very easy to understand, but hard to maximize, just like the original track. This is definitely a good version of the track for people like me that just can't pull off the ice slides needed for the original version of the track. And we have Jake Ray first, Zodiac second, and Bosku third. Track 21, easily, by far, my favorite in this campaign. Just a tight tech map with a lot of hard to pull off turns meant for drifting on asphalt. But when you turn it into plastic, the drifts just feel so much smoother. You don't have to deal with that quick grip that asphalt gives you. You can just slowly, smoothly, subtly take these turns. It feels awesome. These players are exemplifying that. Of course, that's another example of some scenery blocks in the game. Those do give you full grip. I leave those in purely because it adds some variety and it does make creating the tracks a little bit easier. Watching Funny Race Man as he tries to give Zodiark and Jake Ray a run for their money. Does he come in second? I think he gets second here. Well done. And Jake Ray comes in first, Funny Race Man second, and Zodiac third. Track 22, a map as difficult as it is fun. A lot of fun turns on this one, but some of them are quite difficult to make if you don't have the lines right. These players trying to get the most inside approach there that they could. Keep speed onto this first plastic down reactor. At least one player goes for the potential cut here on the water. Yep, Zodiark. He ends up getting a ton of speed from it, and there's definitely a pretty easy potential world record here if somebody pulls that off and keeps that speed throughout the next turn, maybe by pulling off a bug slide. If you're not familiar with my work, I'm pretty much, a motto of mine is, when you can bug slide, do. Granati getting a nice sideways jump there. You don't lose speed by landing on the side of your wheels on plastic. And Jake Ray comes in first, Zodiac second, with Bosku third. Track 23, an extremely difficult start. You get water wheels right away and have to pull off a very tight turn. So what many players did was drive on the grass to get rid of the water wheels. Actually what I did in my author time as well. And that way, even though it slows you down quite a bit, you gain all that time back up over the course of the run, and then some. It's a little difficult to explain, but any surface that's not plastic does dry wheels at different rates. And unfortunately, grass is one of the slowest, so it takes a very difficult line there at the start. Ironically, the game is actually coded in such a way that the fewer wheels you have touching a non-plastic surface, the faster it dries. Not sure why, but that's how it works. All these players keeping insane amounts of speed into this final jump, which makes it very difficult. You can bounce right in the finish and fly off. It's actually a pretty hard final jump. But we got Jake Ray coming in first, Mix Perry coming in second, and Bosku third. All right, track 24, almost all the way through. This was another great map that's very difficult to maximize. You have a lot of very tight turns, very tight corners, these types of jumps right there that you can only just barely make with your top speed. These players, of course, making it look easy. You see Nathan here using the tap to steer method, which can preserve some of your momentum through gear changes if you do it right. This drift right here made actually quite a bit easier due to the plastic surface, though this drop into the quarter pipe much more difficult. Granati here taking the left safe route due to dropping into the hole-in-one on the right there on his previous run. These players taking this checkpoint as low as possible to keep as much speed with the down reactor into the finish as possible. And Jake Ray takes first, Zodiark second, and Bosku third. All right, and we're finally to track 25. Final track in the campaign, starting off with an awesome engine off block skip right here, sliding on your roof and using the plastic bounces to get back onto your wheels. And first jump right into a bug slide for Jake Ray. Insane how much speed he gets out of that. But unfortunately, there is a lot I need to address with this track. Originally, it had two cool plastic bounces in it, just like that first one. But unfortunately, due to an issue in the way that Naudio previously made their plastic special blocks, as well as an issue with how I converted them, the sides of some of the no engine blocks did not apply any effect. So as you'll see later, these players were able to completely skip them and keep their engine on, unfortunately removing one of my favorite bounces. But regardless, these runs are still absolutely insane. These players are going so fast through such difficult terrain. And I chose to include these runs because this was the prominent track 25 used for the competition, though I did update it later and will include those leaderboards. And this is the no engine block that they were able to skip and go full speed. It might not be obvious, but this next jump that they are approaching here is not possible with engine off. You cannot get enough speed for it. Though this isn't the only route that people found, there are alternative routes that I'll be showing later as well. But Jake Ray and Radiance absolutely stomping the rest of the competition, just several seconds ahead. Absolutely obliterating this map, flying to the finish with Jake Ray first, Radiance second, and Hippero third. Here is Granati opting for the strategy I used in my author time, which is essentially getting that checkpoint, turning around, and then hitting the sloped edges of the checkpoint to leap yourself over the no engine block and hope that the plastic bounces will eventually get you back on your wheels. It's very inconsistent, but I was really hoping to see what people could do with that, and unfortunately pretty easily skippable. Though there are alternate routes, like this one in the fixed version of the track that is the current world record by Jake Ray, where he skips the no engine block entirely by going to a previous section of the track and using it to jump past the next checkpoint that he needed. Though you still need to drive on the sand in order to avoid the no engine block and the anti-booster, and then collect the checkpoint and then go back around on the sand in order to not get the no engine block, because then you wouldn't have enough speed to make the following jump. Which gives us the fixed version leaderboard with Jake Ray in first, Janet in second, and Ivy in third. And with that, the Plastic Summer competition has concluded. And after an intense season of rigorous hunting, the top three placements are Bosku in third with 230,000 points. Zodiark in second with 347,000 points, and not surprisingly, Jake Ray in first with 980,000 points. Well done to the top three and everyone that competed, and Jake Ray, maybe let other people have a world record. I just want to say a big thank you to everyone that competed on these tracks this season. It was awesome watching everybody improve the world records over the 3 months of summer. This was a great experience learning how to create these tracks in the first place, and as well learning how absolutely difficult it is to make these kind of videos. So mad props to anybody else that creates videos like these. I will try to be faster next time. Shouldn't have started this while in the middle of moving to a new state. But thank you everyone, it's been a pleasure. Drive fast, drive safe, and I'll see you in Plastic Fall.